We shall now move on to our questions of the week, which worked out quite well for us last week. We've got 4 questions, 5 minutes per question, because we've only got 20 minutes left. And please let us know your thoughts in the chat as we go through as well for these questions. And first of all, there's a question from Bill. And Bill says, in fact, do you want to read your question out, Bill?
Which one is it?
The collector's editions question.
Oh, that one. What will happen to collector's editions, or will they exist in a digital age?
They'll still exist. They'll do like they do with Final Fantasy XIV when you order a collector's edition. So you get like your nice statue and your nice art book and a code in a box.
Yeah,
so you
exactly
do them separately.
Yep. You will still get collector's editions. The collector's editions will have more physical elements, such as, you know, statues and figures and stuff like that. The game will just come as a code. But the collector's edition will be where they make all of their money and all of their margin, because they will charge ridiculous amounts for the figures that really don't cost that much to make.
That's the thing, isn't it? That's why I'm glad you guys think that, because I was expecting some people to say they would just go away, but there's too much margin on them to go away. But the other side of it is that there seems to be a shift at the moment where they tend to get third parties to do them privately. Have you noticed that? So like these websites get set up, and the game developer says, go to this website to buy the collector's edition of what it is. And sometimes the collector's edition actually comes with a hard copy of the game. So maybe they'll start selling the licenses off and make even more money off of these products through these third parties.
So they will simply, just like how, you know, most AAA games, you can buy so much merch for, you know, every big game, can't you? Merch in the form of anything from like key rings up to cars, basically, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think that the merch element of the game industry, that will simply get bundled in, and you'll just get a code in the box with the merch side of the business. So yeah, it won't go anywhere for sure. Yeah. And they will become like kind of like how vinyl is now, where, you know, you don't need to buy anything on vinyl, but, you know, a vinyl copy of something music-wise is, you know, highly desired because they are collectible. They are just collectible things.
And it's all about the money. It's all about the money.
Yeah. Morgan Lemley Jane in the chat says, Inside Incel, how hard did you guys have to push special editions in your previous lives in entertainment retail?
There was no other game.
There was no standard edition. It was only special editions. They were the only ones that you could buy.
we used,
from what I can recall, is basically what our instructions were.
Do you remember where we had to actually set up the shop counter with our special edition and take pictures and tell our managers, you know, that look, we're making the effort. This is what the collector's edition is. Look how good our store looks to try and get these special editions sold.
We've put the same posters up in every shop.
Was there ever a person that would walk into the shop and go, do you know what? I was just going to spend 40 quid on a game, but here's 150 just because you've sold it to me. You know.
Because you've got a really good window display, I'm going to spend an extra 100 quid for that figure that's worth about a tenner.
Yeah.
I know will be in your January sale at half the price. Well, to be honest, actually, seeing as that question was asked, that is actually a bit of a sore point for me. Because in a previous life at my game retailing business that I worked for,
it's in the
covered it well. We had the first. Have a little laugh, that's fine, Ash. The original Last of Us game came with a special edition. And obviously, as usual, they do a little competition for all of the stores to see who can get the most pre-orders for special editions. And I did more special edition sales, not pre-orders, sales. I did more actual special edition sales of The Last of Us than any other store in the entire company. And my reward for that was that a member of the loss prevention department turned up at my store the next day to question me on the legitimacy of my sales, because they thought that I couldn't possibly have done that well with my sales. I chose to leave the company a few weeks after that.
This is really interesting hearing this from you guys, because obviously I worked in second-hand games retail for a long time, so I was always having to tell people, like, no, you won't get any of the digital codes with this. We cannot guarantee. And I still get people come back and be like, I didn't get my digital code.
That was all online passes, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was a thing for a few years.
I was like, no, that game is like 4 years old. Of course someone's already used the code from it, you numpty. So...
Of course. Next question. From Bill again, actually. Is VR still a fad, or is it finding its feet? Will VR disappear? I think it'll be around forever. I think VR's here to stay. We just need it to get affordable, and it's slowly getting towards that point. It won't take over normal games. It will remain a novelty, but for certain styles of game, it is excellent. So I think it's not a fad, but it is also still finding its feet.
Yeah, I would agree with John. I think it's still too exclusive. There are still too many things, like it's bulky or it's really expensive, and sometimes like certain games you can still get a bit motion sick no matter what you try, and you need the space to be able to do it. But I think when they start working on it and actually start releasing games that are focused towards VR, where VR isn't just a gimmick or an extra mode, then it will become much more mainstream. But it's never going to take over traditional gaming because of how much equipment it is and what sort of specs you need on a machine to run it. It's still going to be exclusive for just the expense in general.
Yeah, the reason I asked the question is like you said, some people are saying it's cost, but I don't think that's true necessarily anymore, because the cost of VR isn't as expensive as it used to be, but it's just the practicality of it all. Not only, like you say, Ash, with like having the room and you know, the types of games is another part we'll come on to in a minute, but also how many wires it is, what you need to be plugged in, and the consoles aren't built with that in mind a lot of the time. Even, I mean, has anyone tried plugging in a VR system into a PlayStation 5 yet? Because I've seen some videos and it's not pretty, from what I understand.
I haven't yet, no, because there are no new VR games. Ashens does point out, obviously, the wireless element of things. Ashens recently had a go on an Oculus Quest 2, and it's nearly there, and the price is getting better. The Oculus Quest 2 is the one of the moment, isn't it? It is... it's fully wireless, from what I understand.
Oh, is it? I've not seen that myself.
I believe so. Yeah, it's probably it's way better than PlayStation VR.
Oh yeah.
It's
Sorry?
like doing VR on a potato.
What isn't better than PlayStation VR? But that's the thing, is you need the likes of Sony to make it, you know, mass market, to make it mainstream. And
well, when they made PlayStation VR, I think they made it with cost in mind, and then all the costs start coming down, and then it became a very cheap and not so great alternative because of the quality of the lenses. But if let's say they all get this sorted out, let's say that they got it's more accessible, it's cheaper, and everything else. Ash, you just said it, and John, you said it to begin with. Where's the games? I don't want to play a VR experience where I have to click in the distance and then I teleport there. At the same time, I don't want to play a VR game where it's so janky I feel sick.
Yeah, but the higher frame rate is fixing a lot of those issues of motion sickness.
But then a lot of the motion sickness, and this is a very specific issue, also comes from when you're playing a game like Skyrim, say, and you're sat down. Because your brain goes, oh, I see that I'm walking, but I don't feel that I'm walking.
Yeah.
So it's the space that's restrictive, and just the sheer lack of games.
I just don't think they've come up with a way of how to move around in that 3D space. And like when they invented the 3D stick on a controller, that revolutionised 3D moving around in a 3D space. They're still, no one's come up with an idea of how to navigate a VR space. And I just don't think the controllers at the moment are doing that.
Yeah. Loz says VR is finding its feet, but there's so much potential when fully wireless. The wires are definitely an issue, aren't they? Kizra's just annoyed that Sony still haven't sent them their camera adapter for their PS5 that they ordered almost 3 weeks ago. Morgan Lemmy James says, here I am, still awestruck. We played with the 3DS screens. Yes, still awestruck by the 3DS screens, let alone VR. You know what? The 3DS, 3D, without glasses, or without anything else, that's amazing, isn't it? Why don't TVs work like 3DS screens by now?
So, I never got to use my 3DS screen properly.
Aww.
A, because it gave me a massive migraine, and B, because I'm cross-eyed anyway, it just looks even blurrier than it does normally. And I'm like, well, this was a pointless waste, should have just got a regular DS.
Yeah.
I think Nintendo nailed it with the new 3DS, poor name, stupid name, because of the tracking systems that they had, where people were having trouble trying to find that sweet spot on the 3DS. And a portable system only holding it in one place, I think, is a mistake, as nifty as it was. But as soon as they got it right with the camera tracking and they actually made it, and that was really good. I don't know if you got a chance to try it, guys, but the new 3DS was really good. But no one wanted it. It was a fad that had already gone. And I wonder if we're getting to that point with VR as well, where people have tried it, they've given it a go, and even if they do get it right now, is it going to get to the point like the Wii and like the 3DS where people go, do you know what, I tried it, wasn't for me?
I think it'll always be around, but it's definitely it's not something that you enjoy with other people, is it? It's something that it's fantastic for single player stuff. Great for things like flight sims and driving games where you're already, in that sort of seated cockpit type position. So you don't have quite so many challenges with, the movement within a 3D space. So it works definitely for that. I can't see it going anywhere, but it will never become a mainstream gaming thing. I think if anything, VR is going to be it's going to be more used for uses outside of video games, things like virtual tours for I don't know, houses and tourism and stuff like that. So like you can literally have like a virtual holiday in Rome, say, and you've just got a dude who's got a camera on him, and you literally are there with your VR headset, and you're literally talking to a dude who's walking around Rome, and you say, "Look up, look down," and like direct him around.
That's just
literally,
Wally.
Yeah, but I mean, like, control an avatar who basically goes on holiday on your behalf if you can't go anywhere. And for people who are restricted in, for whatever reason, they can't go out or they can't afford to travel or...
Oh, but they can afford a proper VR headset and someone to wander around Rome.
I don't know, I haven't thought it through in that much detail.
I'm pressing X jump.
Straight left, left.
It is. I've just done it. I've had another epiphany. It's another genius moment from my mind here. This is the future of video games. Forget doing it on your TV. It's done with VR, and you control an actual person somewhere else in the world.
That's a film. That's a film with Gerard Butler.
Yes, actually.
It's not your idea at all,
God damn it! You think you're all so clever. Right. Moving on.
Brilliant. I tell you what, when I come up with that question, I did not expect it to go down that road. I'm so happy it did. Thank you, guys.
Well, anyway, it is time for Ash's question of the night. What we got? We've got 10 minutes left. Okay. Ash, your question, please.
So, video games as a concept no longer exist. You cannot answer this question with, I would learn coding to make a video game. They just don't exist, and that includes mobile games, arcades, any form of electronic gaming entertainment. Gone. No longer exists. What hobby do you pick up instead?
I got a serious answer for this one, actually, because I thought it was a really good question, and I was like, I'd do comic books. I stopped drawing because I got into gaming too much. I used to draw a lot. I like writing books and writing stories. I would have stuck with comic books and became a comic book illustrator. That's as exciting as it is. That's the honest truth.
Maybe that is the answer, is that basically life would be less exciting.
Oh,
what? Because they
crushed my dreams.
I'd probably put a lot more time into music, actually learn to play my guitar properly, and do that. That's what I would do. Nothing's stopping me doing that right now, to be fair. Except time and video games. So, probably music, I think.
What about you, Ash?
Well, mine would be reading and writing, because I don't really play video games anymore because I do that.
Well, that's the thing. I think it looked like I always think of that Simpsons episode where they lost TV. Was it Simpsons? It might have been Family Guy, actually. Sorry, where they lost TV for a while and they all started doing something more not interesting, but constructive with their life. And as much as I love video games, I can't deny that. Unfortunately, we're probably a lot more constructive. If
Probably would. Mind you, I'd be out of a job.
Well, there's that.
No, you could still be an internet cafe. People think you're an internet cafe anyway.
I thought. Well, that's because Google doesn't let you put in video games themed coffee shop. You either have to be a coffee shop or an internet cafe. You can't be both on Google. So, yeah. Let's see what the chat says. Bengus would just watch movies. Morgan Lemmy Jane, photography. Oh wait, that's what she does already. Fanata would do art. Cole would do animation. Still Void says tabletop board games and RPGs.
That's a good
Proper
shout.
RPGs, yes. Kizra writing. Icy just says yo. Icy's probably only just joined. Hi Icy. So yeah, that's our answers for that one. We've got one question left, which is my question, and it is probably quite an easy one to answer actually. Why do the console wars still exist? Can't we just like them all?
Who's going first on this one?
I can go first.
Go on then, Ash.
It's so that people can feel superior. It's so you can go, oh, I bought a PS5 and you bought an Xbox. It's because everyone likes to feel like they've chosen the better. It's the same with like iPhone users think they're better than every other phone user. For the most part, I'm not saying all iPhone users are like this before the chat gets on me.
They're all wrong though, aren't they?
But when like iPhone users say Apple's the best, they're so innovative, but they've got like nothing that Samsung has had for 4 years, and then they say, oh, we do this now, and I'm like, Samsung did that 4 years ago, but whatevs. And it is exactly like it's I bought a PS5, so I'm better than the Xbox users. And then the Xbox users go, oh, well, I bought an Xbox, so I'm like on par with the PC users. And the PC users go, we hate you all, we're the best. And everyone goes, we don't like you, Nintendo. That's all it is. It's so that you can have that superiority complex.
It's just feeling good about what you've spent your money on. I think if you can't afford to buy more than one brand. I suppose it's you could apply that same mentality to anything really, couldn't you? Whether it's could be the car you drive and stuff like that. It's like I've got a BMW. I wouldn't be seen dead driving a Vauxhall or whatever.
Well, football's the big one, isn't it? Everyone play. Every town's got a football club, but for whatever reason, there's scum players and there's not scum teams.
Yeah,
and
but
whatever.
then as a football fan, say you're an avid Norwich supporter. Yes, you support Norwich, but you could probably still quite appreciate a good game of football between two different teams that you don't support. Like, when the World Cup's on, people will watch matches that don't have England in because they just like the sport. I think a lot of people in the chat are saying basically a lot of it is down just to advertising and hype and attention seeking and capitalism. Yay!
I think there's 3 reasons. You've covered one. The other 2. Notice how I changed my fingers around because that would be nasty. I've been practicing that. The other 2 is, in my opinion, the first one is easier. It's easier to say mine's better than yours, my team's better than yours, than it is to appreciate someone else has got something different, and you have to understand the complexities of that.
Yeah.
If everybody went into a football game and said, yeah, good game, yeah, I like that tackle you just did, what would the atmosphere be like when what they actually want is to have good guys versus bad guys, because that's nice and easy. You can boo, you can cheer, and it gives you that release. So it's easier to do that. The other reason, in my opinion, is Sega. Sega are the problem. Because it wasn't a business practice really in video games until Sega used it as a marketing tool to say we do what Nintendo don't, and they buried in.
That's a fair point.
That. They went straight into that, and ever since then, everybody else has been wanting that kind of, because again, it's easier to do that kind of response. And even though they try to play it down these days, you look at what PlayStation did when they launched the PlayStation 4 and go, this is how you play a pre-owned game. That is exactly the same marketing tool, but they've just worded it differently. So Sega started it, proved it was a winning formula, and people
have died.
And then, because they didn't keep
on
it
Sega, says Emily.
They didn't keep it going.
Was there a Mega Drive Does ad? Yes, there was. In fact, there was a whole series of them in both video and print formats.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a good idea for a feature for a YouTube video. We can look at the Sega versus Nintendo marketing from the 90s.
Oh, I love just looking at the adverts.
And you guys can get all nostalgic, and then I'll point out how stupid the whole thing was, because that's what we do on every show.
Loz, what about the Specky versus Commodore 64 wars? Still thriving to this day, they are, Loz. Just as it is Atari versus Amiga and stuff like that as well. Yeah. However, I would like to call out Col in the chat. Col, you claim roses are superior to Quality Street. What? Have a word?
Oh, I like Heroes.
It's not true.
See, I was going to say I prefer Heroes.
It's Heroes. Like what we need Cadbury's to buy Roundtree so that we can get half Roses,
I just want them to
Quality Street, because they each have their merits. But
they do. But I think if I know some people will disagree with this. I think they should take the Eclairs out of Heroes and put something else in instead.
Oh yeah, the Eclairs are. You've got to have a rubbish one though, because otherwise you can't appreciate how good the best ones are.
Otherwise they'll shut down that poor Eclairs shop. It's the only sales they get every year. So
yes, the only time anyone buys those things. The Rick Mail Nintendo adverts. Yeah, we'll definitely have to look into that. Oh hello, Lukey Mundo has a long comment coming up in the chat. Opposing brands do keep prices lower by competing with each other. If Xbox and PS5 combined forces, they would monopolise the console market and would charge whatever they want for it. Pretty sure they're doing that already. Sorry for sneaking in and sounding like a dull dad. We don't like
I don't know if it's more of a competition. I was going to say, I don't think it's more of a competition. I think sometimes they work in partnership to actually get that result. They almost want that. They don't want to inflate the prices in the way that you think.
It just creates attention for the industry overall, doesn't it? As well.
That's the better way of putting it. Thank you, John.
That's the other thing, isn't it?
I like how you both approached this question as like the industry console wars, Microsoft versus Sony, whereas I was approaching it from like John down the road likes Xbox and I like PS4. Let's have a fight.
I know, it's just fun, isn't it? I think people, when you look it down, if you do it the right way, it can really be fun. So maybe that's why it's not going.
If it's done in the right, with the right approach, a little sort of tongue in cheek and whatever, then it's fun. It is fun. But
I think it's summed up best by the YouTube video where it actually goes through the verses of Xbox versus PlayStation, and then the PC Master Race God comes in on his giant PC. If you've seen that video, that sums it up perfectly, and we could always do with more of that.
It is fun. It is fun.